Hopefully we get a crowd. Hey, everybody. Nobody's here live yet because we just went live. But if you're watching a replay, I'm Jeff. Dole Whip Dad is the channel. That is Bill, MrCoaster1. He is our guest for the night. And I am really excited. So usually the first 3 or 4 minutes, I kind of just ask some silly questions and waste time to let people come in. Because, again, I know some people watch it on the replay, but mostly people are watching it live. So I'll just start off with saying thank you to you, Bill. Your channel's a lot of fun. I do see an Animal Kingdom something right behind you. So as we're waiting for people to come in, ask me about that. Tell me about that.
This is actually back in just I was a CM, and right shortly after I left is when Animal Kingdom opened up. So this was like a CM gift that they gave the cast members at the time. It's still got the wrapper on it. Never put it on the car.
That's funny. Yeah, we got a what was it? An annual pass holder. I guess magnet. I guess is what it was, and we didn't even put them on anymore after we lost a couple. So anyway, I'm gonna pull up the video on my other screen here so I can see who's in chat. I see we only got a couple people popping in so far, but I know it'll get a little busier here. But I want to pull up the chat and say hi to everybody. So if you're just getting in here, that's Bill. He's MrCoaster1. We're gonna interview him and talk to him about his channel and what he's doing and why he's doing it. So if you're just in here, smash the like button, say hi. And yeah, I know we're up against a football game, and a couple of my favorite Disney YouTubers actually just went live too. I saw that. So who knows what we'll have. Hey, Juan. Hey, John. How are you guys? Yeah, I was just saying the game, John. John's here, big Patriots fan. I'm surprised you're here, buddy. 14-0. I saw Mr. Brady throw that touchdown right before I went live here. Hey, Alana, how are you? Actually, I was just going to mention.
Halftime.
Yeah, right. So we have some live streams going on right now, including ours, and Alana has one. Alana, is yours at 8:30 Central Time? I meant to look before and I didn't. I believe ours will end here at 8, so will yours be a half hour after that? Is that right, Alana? Hey, Steve. Hey, Walt O. Grams. Dougie. Hey, Jeffrey. Dougie in the house. Hey, Myers in the mouse. Boy, you're having a rough time, my friend. We got a Patriots fan and a Chiefs fan that I know of in the house here. So, Alana, if you heard me, I don't know if you got your sound on. Just go ahead and put on in the chat when your stream is. Yeah, okay, good. She just did. So, Alana's chat, this will end at 8 Central Time. Hers starts at 8:30, so that's perfect. And I know there's some other things going on Sunday night. Our resident Chiefs fan is saying, grrr. But anyway, let's get to it. What I've learned the last 4 or 5 times we've done this is it goes a lot faster than I think it goes, and all of a sudden it's 10 minutes till the end of the hour. So I'm going to be respectful to Bill and to everybody in the chat. Again, reminder in the chat, I try to keep up with chat, but usually I just catch up with it afterwards. But we're going to concentrate on Bill here. Bill, you are MrCoaster1. You've had a pretty cool channel since, well, before I even had a channel, I was watching your channel. So why don't we just start off with, how'd you come up with the name MrCoaster1? I'm going to talk to you about being a cast member and stuff, but let's start with your channel. Why that name? Why Coaster YouTube? Why do you do what you do? I'll shut up and listen.
All right. Well, the Mr. Coaster name actually is a nickname that dates back to my time in monorails at Disney, and I was known as the guy who knew when all the latest coasters were coming out. And this is before, now the internet, where everybody knows everything at a moment's notice.
Sure.
So I knew when I was a member of the American Coaster Enthusiasts. I traveled all over the place and drove up to Cedar Point from Florida a bunch of times and hauled a bunch of people with me. So they dubbed me Mr. Coaster. You know everything about coasters. You're Mr. Coaster.
I love it. I love it. And you say that, yeah.
I just kind of carried that nickname with me. My dad even calls me a lot of the time. If I call him, he said, "Oh, Coaster, hey, you're calling."
I love it.
So that's how the name came about. I added the 1 because somebody intercepted, I think on Twitter, somebody took Mr. Coaster away. So I just added the 1 to sort of make everything line up.
That's funny. I'm Dole Whipped Dad on most things, but I'm Dole Whipped Dad on Instagram because
everybody's angling for the names. But as far as why I started, I actually created a channel, or I created an account, I guess, back in the mid 2000s, and uploaded a couple of short videos just to show family Christmas lights and things like that. But the reason I really got going with a channel as it is now, I watched people like Adam the Woo We went and explored lots of cool, interesting places way back in the very early days of Adam Liu. I just said, I love this stuff. I'm so fascinated by the stuff he's doing. And I thought, you know, instead of just pictures and stuff when we go travel, I'd love to be able to capture some video and put it together, a well done video of the things that we do. And then just not just our travels, but interesting things we find. You know, maybe it's abandoned places. Maybe, you know, I did one earlier in the year that was like the second oldest pet cemetery that was, you know, a couple hours away. The Kite Festival, the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC, and things like that. That, you know, some of that stuff may not be as popular as the others, but it's just interesting. There's at least a few people out there that haven't seen something like that really like to see it, and I like sharing that, and I like having the memories. We like watching back some of this stuff and just crack ourselves up with some of these. And probably the most satisfying thing is getting a comment or getting somebody who says, "Hey, thanks, really cool. I was looking for something like this, or this was well edited, or appreciate your words." And something like that's really cool. Mostly we start it for us, and that's still the main drive. We love sharing with other people, but we want to keep up with it to give us some memories, to have some fun, and be able to look back and have some fun seeing what we've done.
I love that. Yeah, it's the same for me. And your channel, among others, there was a few that I just really enjoyed. They were sharing their travels. I think your first video, at least one of the videos I saw early on, I think you were in Vegas of all places. I don't even think it was a coaster video, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's like almost
Vegas twice.
Okay.
Not in 2017. I went for a bowling tournament, just myself, and I came back and I had so much fun. And they watched my videos. My sister-in-law and my wife watched the videos, and they were just said, "We haven't been in a long time. Gosh, he had a lot of fun. Let's go." And so we went back, and that was a lot of fun to be able to do that. So we like going to a lot of different places and seeing a lot of different things.
Dougie in chat just mentioned a journalism museum, which I don't think I've seen that video. Is that a recent one, or is that one I've just missed? Or
that was probably a few months ago, maybe like in the summer. We went to the museum in Washington, D.C., which is like history of news and journalism and TV broadcasts and stuff. And that was great. That was a lot of fun. If you go to D.C., you have to visit the museum. It's really, really interesting. The history is fascinating. And that's another thing I just love, is exploring history.
I do too. I love that. I've heard about that museum. I would love to check that. I'll have to watch that video for sure. So as I say every week in chat, I've got a bunch of questions for him. Basically, a version of the same questions I ask every week to everybody. But if we have time at the end, I'll certainly get to anybody in chat. So just keep in mind your questions, and we'll get to those for sure. You were a cast member, and you were a cast member for Disney, and you were an employee at another park. You want to talk about that? I know my channel is very Disney heavy. So anytime we get a cast member in here, I'm excited, and I think they're going to. Oh, yeah. So how long did you work there, and tell me more?
8 years at Disney World, most of it in monorails. I started in Tomorrowland merchandise.
Oh.
I told the story when I was in the casting interview of I was a kid. I swore I was going to drive the monorail. That kind of faded away. I didn't really focus on that, but eventually I went for an interview there and said I just really wanted to work in monorails. And they basically offered me merchandise, food, or custodial. And I took merchandise and did about 6 months of merchandise before transferring to monorails. And I spent the rest of my time there working monorails, obviously driving them, working as a lead trainer, and training new people to drive the monorails. So
So you drove the monorail and you train people?
Yes.
Like, I have to do that someday. Like, I on my list of things I must do, that is pretty high on my list.
Yeah, it was a very cool, very interesting experience. I love seeing. A lot of people consider seeing behind the scenes at Disney or how things work as not safe for magic, that kind of thing. Even as a kid, I found how things work, whether it's the machinery, the ride attraction, the behind the scenes stuff that makes it work. I find that stuff just as magical, and I think it's really amazing to see how it. So for me, it was really cool to do it, but also to see how this stuff all works, how it fits together. And I love training drivers, and it's changed a lot over the years. But it's a lot of fun to do that. And the other place I worked at in the theme park world was at Dollywood, and I did like a year and a half, just under 2 years at Dollywood, working on the coaster. At the time was a mine train, Thunder Express, and it sits where the Tennessee Tornado is now. Use the exact same station that the Tennessee Tornado currently uses. So I did that for a while, and that was really cool. That was a really cool experience as well to work at Dollywood.
I bet. Well, I'll have to ask you about that. So, but back to the monorail. What do you look for? What skills does one need to be a good monorail pilot, driver? I don't even know what the word is.
Yeah, pilot is generally what we call ourselves, and I think that's what Disney always referred to us as, pilots. Organization, multitasking, ability to listen. Certainly when you're driving the train, you need to be listening to the other trains, the radio calls. If you have guests in the cab, which sadly they don't anymore, but when they did, you needed to be able to talk to the guests in the train, talk to the guests in the cars behind you, and also keep aware of where the other trains are on the system. Over the years, since I've driven, more recently, there's a lot of automation. The driver's not doing as much. A friend of mine, I have several people I worked with who are still in monorails, so that's kind of cool. But the people I know who are there now and said, yeah, they don't train any of this, the visual and the whole points and all that kind of stuff that they used to. It's way more automated, which makes me a little sad, because I liked all the different things you had to think about. And I liked being able to, after a while, sort of predict where trains are, knowing what driver is in a train and what time of day it is. I could have a really good idea of where that train is and where I'm clear to. And that kind of stuff was really made driving a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Now, before we get off of monorails, do you think they're going to stay? I hear rumors that they've got some new ideas that are going to make the monorails go away. What do you know? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
If I had to guess, I would say they're staying. What exists now is staying. I can see them going with this gondola, assuming that works well enough. And I think what they're building right now it's a mini test bubble for expanding it further. But if that works well enough, I think they'll go with that. But I think they'll keep the existing system.
I mean, the infrastructure at Disney World is kind of based around at least the track. So It's going to be interesting. It would be interesting, and I would be sad. I love it. I love the change in Disney. I'm not one of those people that usually says, "Oh, don't make a change." But if the monorails went away, I would be sad.
that would be so just depressing.
Yeah. I collect a lot of Disney things, and that's one of my questions I'll ask you. But we're going to talk about coasters here in a minute. But one of the things I collect is monorail stuff, and not a lot. I just started, but Disney pins and transportation things, and to have somebody who was a pilot and even trained pilots, that's awesome. So
I wish we had more Disney monorail merchandise. There's not as much as I feel like there should, especially when I was there. I've got the play set, train set.
I was going to ask you about that. I have to have that someday. Now, I just became a grandfather, and he's 2. And my grandpa had trains for me, and now my brain I need this Disney World in my garage. Right. The monorail is the way to go, right? But it's expensive.
It's very expensive. I wanted to buy all the hotels and the castle and spaceship and all that stuff, but yeah, it was just too expensive to buy a lot of it. So I just bought a couple of things.
I have is it the Contemporary and something else that I got at thrift stores of all things that are part of that, but someday I will spend way too much money on that, but that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. Well, I'll just use that as the segue. Do you collect coaster merch and or Disney merch, and if so, what?
I have collected, and it's a kind of a mix of a bunch of stuff. There was a time when I was at Disney before the days of the current internet kind of thing, where I was sending letters to every major park I could think of, and some smaller ones, and getting them to send me brochures, map guides. And so I've got a couple of binders from the early to mid 90s of all these park guides and stuff for these different parks around the country.
That's fun.
I used to get a lot. I still have way too many T-shirts, from tons of parks, including some defunct parks and defunct coasters. I have a bunch of cups and magnets. I collected shot glasses. I became convinced I needed to have a shot glass from all the parks.
Oh no!
Some of them had different ones for different coasters, so I got those. And eventually, I just had this giant collection of shot glasses, and I said, "Okay, I gotta stop. This is just too much, and I got to do something with it." I don't know. Anybody wants a giant shot glass collection of coasters and theme parks? At some point, I got to figure out something to do with it.
I guarantee your Disney ones, you have a market for them right here. I guarantee it.
I don't have many, if any, Disney ones. I have a ton of roller coasters, and I got a few I collected when I became a flight attendant from traveling. The biggest problem, and some things like that, or there's other memorabilia that I feel like at some point I'm just going to give some of this stuff away to people who really want it, because I can't keep it forever. I don't think my daughter cares about it very much. But these shot glasses weigh a ton. So even if I wanted to give it away to somebody, I feel like we have to like pass it over in a car or something, because it would cost a fortune to mail these things.
That's super funny. So I moved out from California out here to Texas 9 years ago now, whatever it's been. And I have always collected a lot of stuff. And I had a lot of Disney things from when I was a kid. And we have a bunch of good friends, but a specific friend who worked at Disney, he's since passed, unfortunately, but he had a different room. Each in his house was a different theme. He actually owned some of the ticket booths. He had like 3 of the original ticket booths. He gave them to 2 of his churches, and he had one in his backyard. He had insane merch. He was actually, you ever see that show on, I don't know what channel it is, Crazy Christmas Lights, and they've got like 10 different people.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys. He like, anyway, it's a couple years back now, but long story short, I gave him a bunch of stuff because I knew he would love it, and I didn't have room for the stuff. So I totally know how that goes. That's funny. So let's talk about coasters. So Dollywood, is that Tennessee? I don't even know where that is. I've not been.
Yeah, it's outside the Smoky Mountains at Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, about 40 minutes from Knoxville. And it's definitely one of the more beautiful parks. I think the other one that comes to mind is Williamsburg, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. That's a gorgeous park. And it's if you love Disney and you haven't been to Dollywood, you probably like Dollywood a lot. There's a lot of good theming. It's is a beautiful, naturey mountain creek kind of setting. They've been adding so many very unique coasters in the last 20, 30 years since Dolly took over the park. And it's a very popular park with a lot of enthusiasts. And it's just fun. It's just a fun place. They got good food, lots of family stuff there too. And you can go to the park and go spend a day at the Smokies. It's a really unique place.
I'm a national park nut also, and I've not been to that part of the world, frankly, part of America. And I'm a fan of her, not music or anything, but she does a lot of giving back. My mom's a fan of her music. I've always known her because Mom was a fan. But she does a lot of good. Have you ever met her? She seems like an amazing human.
Yeah. I've met her. She came to the park. She came to the park a couple times. She came specifically to visit our ride shortly after it opened, and I didn't get to like have a conversation with her or what have you, but did get to meet her, and she was very nice. She's super nice, super generous and genuine, and same thing. I'm not really into her music. I don't dislike it. It's very nice, but as a person, she's pretty incredible, and she loves that park. She loves the people there. All the employees there are really friendly. It's definitely very comparable to Disney in that regard too.
We got Juan Rodriguez in the chat, and I guarantee he'll sing "Islands in the Stream" if we ask him. I'm sure
I'd like to see that.
So let's talk about coasters. So I grew up loving coasters. Actually, me and my dad didn't get along very much, but boy, we got along when it came to baseball and roller coasters. So I have a sweet spot for roller coasters myself. I have some favorites, mostly West Coast stuff because that's where I was a kid. Where are you? Are you in Florida? I feel like you were.
No, I'm actually near DC in Maryland.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. I had
around here.
So let's talk about your favorite coasters. Your favorite coasters that you've ever ridden. Your favorite coasters that are no longer around, and then the ones that you want to go see that you haven't yet is what I'd like to ask you about. So let's start with favorite coaster. Do you have one?
Yeah, right now I think my favorite is without a doubt Fury 325 at Carowinds.
Tell me more.
In Charlotte. It is amazing. It's a really, it's 325 feet tall, like the name, and it's just got a big drop, a lot of air time. It's pretty smooth, and it just it feels like you're dropping out from 10,000 feet up when you're coming over the lift hill. That's a really, really great ride, and that's probably my favorite.
And where was that again?
It's in Carowinds, which is in Charlotte. The park sits actually on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. The state line runs right through the middle. They've got a line. So the park actually has different laws and different tax rates depending on which side some of the merchandise or the food places are. So it's been a very unique, interesting piece of that park. But it's a neat park. They've done a lot of expanding and building over the last 15 years or so. And Fury 325 it got a lot of hype the first year. I didn't get to ride it until I think like the end of the first year. It was worth the hype. Absolutely worth the hype.
That's awesome. So I live here in Fort Worth, Texas, which is very close to Arlington, Texas, which is where we have Six Flags. So have you been
there many times?
If you're a coaster nut, I'm guessing they've got a few. Honestly, I was more of a coaster nut when I was a kid than I am now. Now that I've got kids, I'm kind of hanging out and watching them. But growing up in Southern California, we had, it was Magic Mountain. Now it's Six Flags Magic Mountain, and I guess Valencia. I'm not sure if that's right.
Right.
I feel like that. Right. And then, of course, the Disney coasters in Knott's Berry Farm. My favorite, though, the Colossus was the one all my buddies liked, and that was at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Right.
And when that was built, it was the biggest drop I ever, as a kid, I've rode on. But my personal favorite was in Knott's Berry Farm, and it was Montezuma's Revenge, I think it was called. I guarantee Juan knows it, and all my Southern California people.
Still there.
Yeah, I bet it is. I would be shocked if it's not. It just shot you out of a rocket, did a loop, went backwards, did a loop, it was my whatever that was as a kid. I remember me and Dad riding that like 12 times in a row one day, or who knows, I don't remember the number. And I just have such good memories. But then I had kids. My oldest, Brittany Bates, who was just here, she just told me she's pregnant. You guys are the first to know outside of the family. So I'm gonna have my second grandkid. That's how old she is.
Congratulations.
First time I rode it with her, she freaked out the whole time. It was the most stressed I've been in my life because I thought she was trying to crawl out. And so this was like my favorite ride as a kid. I'm looking forward to doing it with my kid. And so the whole ride's stressful. We get to the end. I think she's going to be in tears. And she says, "Can we ride it again?" Like, what? So she kind of ruined my favorite ride. But have you been out to the West Coast? Do you have any favorites out there? This is personal for me because I'd love to know if you know any of the ones that I know.
Yeah. I've been out to the West Coast a bunch of times. I used to go to the roller coaster, the American Coaster Enthusiasts. They always have a coaster con in June, and it's usually like 3 days at one park, two days at another nearby park.
Love it.
And so I took my daughter out to one like 2003, 4, something like that. And it was at Magic Mountain and a couple days at Knott's. And unfortunately, that was it was the year that X2 opened up. And everybody was waiting to ride that. We didn't get to ride because they were having a lot of issues with it early. And then the other one was Accelerate at Knott's was brand spanking new. They were doing testing. They're doing employee testing while we were there. And it opened the day after our con ended. So we didn't get time on it, but during that event, they auctioned off, if anybody's going to stay around for the following day, the next day, Saturday, we're auctioning off 2 seats on the first coaster to go out. And I threw a few bucks in and won. So
nice.
we were down the next day. So I actually got to be on the first coaster out that they had done a bunch of auctions for people to bid for seats for that. So that's
really neat.
That was pretty neat. And the coaster con at Six Flags at Magic Mountain was really cool because that was the 25th anniversary of the movie Roller Coaster.
Oh.
If you haven't seen it, It's a lot of fun. It's not a mind-blowing thriller, but it's a lot of fun. A lot of roller coasters, multiple theme parks, Six Flags Magic Mountain, King's Dominion. And so it was the 25th anniversary. So one of the guys actually brought in sense-around speakers from the 70s. So we watched that. We watched Roller Coaster in the Magic Mountain Theater with the original sense-around speakers. And they had a couple of cast members and a couple of people from the film crew to talk about, do a Q&A of the movie.
That's fun.
Timothy Bottoms, who's one of the stars, he was there, and somebody won the chance to ride on a coaster with him. So that was really cool. I love Magic Mountain. It's definitely changed a lot over the years.
Oh yeah,
but, Magic Mountain's great. Knott's is great. Really like that park. We last were there, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But definitely some great. Knott's is great because it has some of those old classic rides. Their log flume ride is fantastic. Yeah.
Oh man, I have great memories of that. It's Knott's Berry Farm. I mean, I'm a Disney guy, but Knott's Berry Farm I always loved. I didn't love Magic Mountain as a kid, mostly because when they were picking it over Disney. But and I have to. I'm going to use that as my segue. So everybody in chat was telling me that their favorite coasters, and most of them were Disney coasters. So I have to ask you, do you have a favorite Disney coaster? What are your favorite Disney coasters? My favorite ride is a Disney coaster, but I'll save that for after what you tell me. Do you have a Disney coaster?
I think probably Thunder Mountain.
My daughter's
favorite. Thunder Mountain's probably. I really love Everest. I love the backwards section too. But there's something about Thunder Mountain, especially at night, when you got some of that, the glow of the lights, maybe the castle off in the distance. Just really like the atmosphere. I did get to work as a non-trained employee on Thunder Mountain, which I did overtime on that ride, which was basically greeter and unload and that kind of thing. And I just love that ride. It is so much fun.
That's one of my favorites. And I mentioned me and my dad like really enjoying coasters together. Space Mountain. I remember standing in line for Space Mountain for 3 hours when it was brand new, and now you can walk right on, which is crazy. But I still have great memories of that. But for me, it's Everest. That's my favorite ride. Well, that's my favorite ride. Yeah, I love it. It's Expedition Everest or whatever. Actually, I collect Disney pins, and I bought some. I rode, I don't know, whatever. They were dated like the first day. I didn't go there the first day, but I bought the pins. But I just love that ride so much. A lot of people are talking about, so I have to ask, the Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster. I've only ridden that once. It was great. I expected it to be silly. I don't know why I didn't think it was going to be great. I loved it, but 3 or 4 people mentioned it in chat. Have you been on that one? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I like that one. It's a lot of fun. My wife, like, she giggles or cackles at the launch. She just loves that. It's a fun ride. I do like it. Not my favorite Disney one, but I definitely like the ride. It's smoother than a lot of rides that are. There's a number of coasters out there that are kind of similar to that, but it's a good ride. I like it. I'll be sad that they retheme it, but hopefully it seems inevitable they're going to do some sort of retheme or overlay on it. But maybe they'll do something really cool with it. I don't know.
I'm ready. I'd be okay with them retheming it every year. I know people love it and they don't like change and stuff and they get all mad, but I like the idea of a retheme, I'll be honest. So favorite non-Disney park and then favorite Disney park. So you've been to more parks than I have been. If I could go to one park, and I love roller coasters, where should I spend my money?
Oh man, that is tough. I would say probably between Dollywood and Busch Gardens, Virginia. Cedar Point is awesome. I can't stop say something about Cedar Point because they've just got a volume of coasters and an incredible history, and I love going to Cedar Point. But I really like. I have a certain nostalgia because I went to these parks earlier, Dollywood and Busch Gardens, Virginia. And Busch Gardens, Virginia doesn't have the volume of coasters you see at a place like Cedar Point, but it's so beautiful and the rides are unique and they've got some really cool theming around them, and the areas are very nicely done. Dollywood, just very unique. All the coasters are very unique there. They've got the Mystery Mine, which is part indoor, part outdoor. It's got a vertical lift and a vertical drop, and there's some theming and explosions and stuff that happens inside that's very cool, and you don't see a lot of other places outside of Disney and Universal.
And you mentioned Cedar Point, right? That's kind of the epicenter for coasters.
Yeah, that's the coaster capital of the world, some call it. I haven't been there recently. I need to get back there. We keep talking about making the drive over there again sometime soon. But yeah, Cedar Point is amazing. It's definitely. I drove there from Florida several years in a row with fellow Disney cast members, so that'll tell you what we all thought of it. We drove 18 whatever hours it was straight through to Ohio to go ride some of these coasters.
Now, you mentioned the conference, the CoasterCon, I think you called it, and it reminded me, this was, I want to say it was recent, like maybe October or November. We were in Arlington, Texas. We were at Six Flags, and there was a bunch of people all wearing the same shirts, and I think it was some kind of coaster convention. Is there a chance that was in Arlington? I mean, I don't think I would have remembered it had you not said it, but.
Yeah, in addition to like the main con, ACE itself has a bunch of different, there's like a spring conference, there's a preservation conference, a number of different ones in the summer that are just like maybe 2-day events.
It's definitely a group of people all in the same shirt, all riding coasters, and
yeah, a lot of
fun.
And then there's a bunch of other different things that have sprouted up in the last 20 some years. So there's a whole bunch of different organizations and clubs that put together, and they work out ride time. Maybe before the park opens, you get an hour or 2 hours of coaster ride time, admission to the park, maybe catered lunch. Then after the park closes, another hour or a couple hours of ride time with a bunch of other coaster crazy people.
That's fun.
So yeah, any events like that with any of these various coaster clubs or theme park clubs they're a lot of fun. I haven't been a member of ACE recently, as I just haven't traveled to all the different coasters as much as I used to, but they're a lot of fun, and the events are a lot of fun. You're meeting all people, all sorts of different walks of life who are just huge coaster fans. Not too much unlike the whole Disney thing,
right? I bet.
All sorts of different kinds of people who love Disney, who come in, and everybody gets to share the fandom.
Well, I was going to ask you about rides, non-coaster rides, but I want to hit on Vegas first. Maybe it's just on my mind because I remember that Vegas video of yours, but I remember, oh boy, this might have been over a decade ago, but we just happened to be wasting some time in a casino. It wasn't even in Vegas. It was on the border there, Sam's Town, or I don't even know what it's called. And we jumped on a coaster.
Probably.
Maybe one of the more vertical drops I've ever been on in my life. I don't know what it's called. Me and my wife talk about it all the time. Like it was indoors and then it was outdoors, and I was unprepared for the drop, and it was spectacular. It took my breath away. It was awesome. And then there's other ones in Vegas. There's one on top of the Stratosphere, and there's one in New York, I guess. Right. Is that a place that coaster enthusiasts go? Have they? It was not something that I was aware of, and then I did that coaster. I'm like, oh, I better pay attention next time.
I don't think a lot of people are super excited about the coasters that are there. The one in New York to me is just it's a head beater.
Yeah, I've never ridden that one, to be honest. But
it's painful. The best one that I think ever was in Vegas was Speed, the ride, which was launched out of the station around a curve, went through a loop, and then went up a tower, and then came backwards through the whole thing.
Wow.
And that was really great, and that was not too rough. But of course, they removed that a few years back. But a lot of the coasters in Vegas are just they're kind of rough. They're not real big. The last time we went, I don't think I rode any of them. I wasn't super excited about getting on any of those coasters at the moment. But Vegas is a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. And we don't even gamble. A lot of people are like, oh, really? You must be a gambler. No, not really. I think in the 2 times I went to Vegas, I probably wagered less than $5.
It's funny you say that. I haven't been to Vegas in years. I used to go all the time when I lived in San Diego. And I loved Vegas for a time, but I played poker. I don't consider that gambling because, well, it's not, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I can't imagine putting money in a machine and hoping it comes out. That's just not something I would do. But I got a lot of things to do in Vegas though, but I haven't been there in years. So rides outside of coasters, I'm guessing you're coaster heavy, but I can't imagine you don't like other rides. You mentioned a log flume ride. What are some of your other favorite rides, and where are they non-coaster wise?
Yeah, I love all kinds of rides. Whether it's a kiddie coaster or we just did the Hershey Park Christmas, and one of the things we rode a couple times is the Tilt-A-Whirl. Love a classic Tilt-A-Whirl. Unfortunately, Busch Gardens recently closed a dark ride that I really liked, which was Curse of Dark Castle. And that was very similar to if you've ridden Spider-Man or Transformers at Universal. Same company and same type of ride, a little bit cheaper budget, but still same kind of thing. And that was a really cool dark ride. We don't get nearly enough good dark rides like that. That was one of my favorites. Obviously, Disney has a ton of non-coaster rides that are fantastic. Oh, yeah. And Pirates of the Caribbean, absolutely one of my all-time favorites. Universal's got a bunch of good ones. I really love Spider-Man. Spider-Man to Universal or Orlando is definitely one of my absolute favorites.
Really, I've heard that. I haven't ridden that one. We went to the Harry Potter.
It's fantastic. It's still fantastic. I worked at Universal in addition to Disney. I worked at both of them at the same time for 2 years, and I would do the Jaws ride. I would be a skipper on the Jaws ride in the morning, and then I would race across town to Disney and do the monorail thing. So I left after that. But when I heard that they were actually opening the park, I heard rumors about it's actually going to open. I came down. I arranged to be off of work for almost a month. I bought an annual pass, and I basically went to Universal every day for a month when they had a soft opening, when they're just only pass holders were allowed in, limited number per day. And I just went there every day and rode these rides over and over and over again with no line. So I rode Spider-Man to death first couple months before it opened, and it was fantastic. Still one of my absolute favorite rides.
I'm gonna have to do that now. See, we just planned our Disney trip for 2019, and we were saying, well, what are we gonna do? Which parks are we gonna go to? Do we want to do Universal? And we decided, no, we're not gonna. But now I might have to. I don't know. Might have to go check that out. It's so expensive though to add on. Like, it's so hard to decide. That's why one of the reasons I want to have you on and talk about which parks to go to, because for me it's my vacation budget, and we're going to spend way too much on our vacation. But to know how, we're getting better. We're Disney Vacation Club, so we're learning how to stretch that dollar and this and that, and hopefully make some more and spend some more. But have somebody on who's been to, and I hope for the people in the chat to say, well, this one's worth it and this one's not. I think that's great. So I'll ask again. I mean, you're in Virginia. You talked about what's the best one? I'll just ask again. I think you said Cedar Point, and I'll say it again for people who just popped in. What are some of the best places if you want coasters, non-Disney? To stretch that vacation dollar. Where would you send them?
Busch Gardens, Virginia. Dollywood is great. If you come to Pennsylvania, we've got Kennywood, which is a great park with a lot of history. We have Knoebels and Hershey Park. All three of those are within a couple of hours. That's the first trip I took my daughter on. The first coaster trip I took her on when she was 9 was Pennsylvania, and we hit those parks. And they've got a lot of older coasters. A lot of them are really good family coasters too. There's a couple of huge ones, but there's good family coasters that you can, if you're not as big into the massive thrills that everybody can ride. And Knoebels is great because it is a real throwback. There's no entry gate. You just wander in from the parking lot. Wow. And you can buy a ride all day pass, or you can buy individual tickets. And it's a real throwback.
And that's Hershey? Is that the one with, which one are you talking about?
That's Knoebels.
Oh, Knoebels, okay. That's cool.
And Hershey Park is great too. A lot of history there, and they've got some great newer big coasters as well as some classics.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, let's talk about your channel. So what do you like about your channel? What's coming up on your channel? You just tell me about it, like whether it be the history of it or the future of it. I like your channel. I want them to hear about
it. Yeah, as far as the channel goes, we are a mix of things. It's going to be some travel. There's going to be some just general interest things that we think are kind of interesting. looking at the museum. Went to the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC last spring. So we're going to mix things like that in with some of the bigger trips. 2017 we did Vegas a couple of times, did New York, went to Dollywood and Pigeon Forge, and had a lot of fun footage from that. Most recently, we just finished posting videos from our cruise on Harmony of the Seas, which is the second largest cruise ship in the world.
Oh, wow.
And that was really fun. That was so much fun. We had a great time on that. So we've had a pretty good mix of that. And then the other thing I've liked to do, you've got your couple of little series that you do on your channel. One thing I started doing a little over a year ago was, a lot of people saying, do your monorail stories. I used to do a thing on Instagram where I'd write a paragraph under a picture and give a miniature story of something that happened when I worked at Disney. So I decided to do this in video form and start doing Monorail Monday. And I just finished recording episodes 23 and 24, and I talk about stories, funny stories from when I worked there, behind the scenes stuff, what it's like to work there, how operational things work. So I do a lot of that, and that kind of fills in some gaps here and there. And people like it. It's the kind of stuff I loved as a kid, or even now. I love hearing people telling me when they worked at this place or that place, or hearing other cast members tell stories. So, I just decided to share some of this stuff, hopefully before I forget. I can't remember any of this stuff anymore.
And you're right there. We all love that. If I'm walking around in a Barnes and Noble and it says stories from a monorail pilot, I'm at least picking it up and probably buying the dang thing. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. I like doing that. And we haven't been to Disney recently, but it's a possibility we may be going very soon, and we may be visiting a Disney park soon and do some Disney coverage and try and see what we can come up with. I love it. Well, I know these people, including me, will be watching those for sure. So before I move on, compare working at Disney with the other parks. It was Universal, right? So pretty much the same, I'm guessing, or vastly different. Surprised me.
There's a lot of similarities. It was really interesting because when I applied to Universal, I was still working at Disney. I had no intentions of quitting Disney, but I thought they're looking for people. I'll give it a whirl. And not only was not Universal not against it, they were thrilled by it. They're like, "Oh, this guy already knows theme parks."
I mean, yeah, I would think, right? I mean,
he's already trained by Disney. They were like, they don't care. And I didn't go to Disney HR and ask permission. But all the managers in monorails, they all knew I was doing it, and then nobody seemed to care as long as I was showing up for my shift.
In the right uniform.
They didn't care too much. So
no Mickey ears going Universal.
I'm sorry.
No Mickey ears at Universal though. I'm guessing the no Mickey ears at Universal.
No, couldn't wear ears. But a lot of people, you see a lot of people saying, well, I can't go to Universal, I'm a Disney fan. And sometimes people act like, I will be betraying Disney if I go to.
Yeah, we talk about that in our chats a lot. That's so silly. I mean, it's real.
Tons of cast members at Disney love Universal. A lot of the Universal people love Disney. I was like a ticket broker at Universal because you would get a certain number of comp passes a year. So I would see if anybody at Universal wanted to trade for Disney once, and people at Disney, and I would go to monorail people, say, I got a couple of Universal tickets. Are you guys looking to trade? And there was no money exchange. It was just a straight up ticket for ticket. Hey, I've got some comp tickets to Disney. I'll trade them. Trade them for comp to Universal.
It was in San Diego. Oh, I'm sorry. No, keep going.
It was funny because at Universal, they were far more interested in how do things work at Disney. What do they let you do and not do? Disney was, the folks I knew at Disney were far less interested in that. But at Universal, they were very interested in how we did things. And Universal was kind of ahead of Disney in there was certain things at the time for empowerment and giving the employees the ability to do some things on their own without getting a manager or guest relations or something like that involved. That I found really, really cool. And so it wasn't very long before Disney kind of started doing that kind of stuff more and more. The biggest con of working at Universal, and this was like 93, 94, so it was very early in Universal Parks history. The worst part of being at Universal was that there were frequently breakdowns on some of the bigger rides.
Oh, really?
Earthquake, Kong. Sometimes you have Earthquake and Kong, and then my ride Jaws go down all at the same time. And then people, would walk around and they'd be very angry. And they'd say, "You should see how Disney does it." And I'd just kind of laugh under my breath thinking, yeah, I worked there too. It's not as perfect as you imagine. But
I mean, it's like the story of the first day at Disneyland, right? And even the silly line in Jurassic Park. I mean, you can't have everything working at all times, especially when it's as awesome as all those things are. So that's right. People just like to complain. Like I said, my dad was one of those guys. We were having a talk the other day in chat, though, man. If you're at Disneyland and you're unhappy, that's because you want to be. And it's the same with any park, right? I mean,
right.
We go to the parks and I marvel. I'm more of a people watcher. I was even when I was a kid, but I'm even more so now. And this is so negative. I don't even want to admit this, but I kind of enjoy seeing the grumpy people at parks because I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not them. But I don't know. We are who we want to be. So a lot of people just popping in. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys so much. So if you haven't met him yet, this is Bill. He's MrCoaster1. He's got a great channel. I dropped his link in there a couple times. We've been talking about favorite parks and favorite rides, both Disney and non-Disney. If you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, you're missing out. It's awesome. Also, let's talk about your other socials. In the description of the video, I put your Twitter and your Instagram. I don't know of any others that you have, so please enlighten me if you have any others, and let them know to go see you. Where to go?
Twitter and Instagram, pretty much.
Okay, that's right.
In Instagram, I haven't been on there as much as I should, but I'm planning on getting more stuff in there regularly. And I promise I don't bombard people with 60 pictures a day. I've had that on Instagram, and that can be tough to get through. But yeah, Instagram and Twitter, MrCoaster1. Those are pretty much the two main things outside of YouTube. And I'm pretty regular on, very, very regular on Twitter. And we talk about all sorts of stuff, whether it's theme parks, Disney, and just regular stream of thought, consciousness kind of stuff. I love getting that from other people. We all like our brand and promote that, but I like talking to the people behind the brand. What do you like to do beyond just post these things? What makes those people tick? What do you like to do? What are you going through? What food do you like to eat? That kind of stuff. So I love getting different perspectives. I think I talked about this on one of my Monorail Mondays, that I really love talking to people. I've been going to Disney, to Walt Disney World since it opened in 1971. I've been going a long time, but I love hearing the perspective of people who've just been going a couple of years. To them, all that stuff has always been there. They went 5 years ago, and it's always been 4 parks. It's always been this massive stuff. So it's interesting to think of how I think of it and the things that have been added more recently versus other people's perceptions of what they've experienced. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I do too. I love that you said that's one of the ideas for this show, Distube right here. I've said this a lot. I didn't even think I was going to like live streaming. I only started it back in October. Honestly, I wanted to see what it was all about. I mean, there was some that I really liked that I watched, some that I thought were, why, or was anyone watching this? But I love Disney creators. I love people with Disney Etsy's. I love people with Disney Instagrams. I mean, I started on social media outside of work to just have more of the stuff I love. And then as I started to get to know creators, I mean, some of my favorite creators are in our chat right now. I mean, Corey Fiasco's channel and Megan Mickey's Magic channel. And I don't want to leave anybody out. So many more that are in here. And I wanted to, I mean, let's be real. I was being selfish. I wanted to get to know them. My favorite question is, why do you have a YouTube channel? And I mean, if it's a channel I like I like yours, I want to know why they started it and why they do it. And the most common answer I seem to get is, well, it wasn't for the money. And I always am shocked by that. I'm like, that's okay. I mean, I'm not saying why you're not doing it. Why are you like, why are you, I mean, I love making videos, but it's work. I mean, it's not hard. I'm not going to pretend like it's like construction.
I mean,
it's effort, right?
It does. It does take a lot of time, and there's been a couple of weeks where I just like, I can't go, and it's easy. It's easier like if we're on the cruise that we took a few months back. We shoot a ton of footage. I know the kind of stuff I want. In that case, we had somebody who got sick, so we weren't able to shoot everything we wanted to. But I kind of know what I want. You're on vacation. You're going to be shooting camera stuff anyway. But some of the in-between, when I have to go out and maybe a Saturday, say, okay, now I'm going to drive to Baltimore. I'm going to drive to Harrisburg or something like that and go shoot something. Doing that and then editing the footage and spending the time. And I spend too much time playing with the edits and such. And it is a lot of work. And the money, you make a little bit of money if you get enough views, but it's not anything great. And to be honest, if I didn't enjoy it, I would stop. We've talked about a couple of times where there was just a lot going on, and I said, if I wasn't doing this for us, if I didn't really enjoy the stuff we've already done, the memories and things, going with my daughter places, taking my wife places, we love rewatching some of these videos. I said, I love that, and I don't want to lose that.
Exactly.
So, if you reach that point where you feel like, oh, this is just too much, take a break, just take a week off. Most people aren't going anywhere, and it's okay to just say, all right, I'm just going to take a couple of days. I'm not going to do it. I'll come back, and just God bless those people who do put out daily videos, because there's no way. I've done 2 a week a lot over the last 2 years, and that's an enormous amount of time to deal with. But take a break if you need it. If you are a creator, take a break if you need it for a week or so. Give yourself a break. You get a fresh perspective on things, and that really helps out.
I totally agree. So what do you use, a little inside baseball stuff, what do you use to edit your videos?
Mostly I'm using iMovie right now. I almost went to Final Cut Pro. I demoed it, and then I wasn't sure if I was going to be upgrading in the near future to another laptop, so I didn't want to sink all my money into Final Cut Pro if I might be going back to Windows again, because I'm using a Mac. I've also used Adobe Premiere, and I like that a lot too. It's just a very different way of doing a lot of the same things. I really liked Adobe Premiere Pro, and I may go back to that at some point, but then I'm going to have to do that learning curve of a couple of weeks before everything becomes instinct again.
Yeah,
but
I just got that. I haven't even used it yet. I've been 100% mobile. No, I've been 99.9% mobile, and I'm loving it. And it's easy, and you just got your phone in your pocket. But I want to up my game, so I've got Adobe Premiere, but I've used it a total of 0 times. So there's that.
It takes a little getting used to, but it's fun. It's fun to be able to do some different things. I'm not using a ton of special effects, but I do like to try and be very careful with cutting things, in the exact spot. When you start sliding the editing button to slice a fraction of a second off, it can really. Yeah. Last video we did was a cruise highlights video, not vlogging, more of a just like a musical video highlight, and cutting all the little clips down so that at a beat at the end of a guitar riff or something like that, that the clip changes and all the cuts are fitting the music perfectly. Takes a huge amount of time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But it really gives it a great feel. It really, you watch that. The first video that we did for our channel, the first real video that we did was Disneyland, a honeymoon, and we weren't doing vlogging, so we shot tons of video, but we weren't really talking to the camera, and we basically, that was a 6 or 7 minute highlight of our trip. And by the time my wife still loves watching it to this day. She still loves that. It was a lot.
I love those if it's my family. I love those if there's other people's family. I love that. Some of my favorite videos are videos that people, I've even heard people say in the video, oh, nobody's going to watch this. It's just our family. I love that, because some sweet kid hugging on a character or some kid screaming. And I love it. And it's interesting you said that about the edits. I think I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist. I think that's silly. And I think that might be a little advantage because I'm just cool with, yeah, here's what it is. I'd rather it be done than be perfect. That said, the more I watch YouTubers that I love, like you and people in this chat and the Casey Neistats and the Peter McKinnons, I'm like, oh, I want to learn that. How did he do that? How did she do that? So that's a good segue to, oh my gosh, and it's 4 minutes till. See, it always goes so darn fast. Who are some of your favorite YouTube channels? Let me know maybe somebody we don't even know. Somebody in chat doesn't know. Who are your favorites and why?
I've got so many, and it's so hard because there's so many great creators. It's hard to watch everything of it that everybody's putting out. We always tell people, we hope you watch, but if you don't, we're still friends. Come and watch what you do like. I love Adam the Woo. I still love Adam the Woo a lot. He's a pretty awesome creator, and he's always looking for interesting and different things to do. Adventures of Peas and Carrots, we really like them. They do a lot of Disney and a lot of travel and things like that. Really enjoy theirs. But we've gotten into there's a guy, Morgan, who does unofficial travel guides, and he does a lot of cruising. He does some Disney, but he does a lot of cruise related videos and talk about travel. And he's got a really good personality. He's very honest. Huh?
What was the name on this one? I don't think I got it.
Unofficial Travel Guide.
Oh, okay.
Not affiliated with the books. And his name is Morgan O'Brien. And he's on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube.
Check that out.
But yeah, he's got some really good stuff. I like his approach to things is a little bit different from some of the other things that I've seen. I love if anybody does try something a little different, especially at Disney. A lot of people are doing the exact same things. There's a very saturated Disney creator market. So anything you can do that's a little different,
totally agree.
Go for it. We did the last time we did go for a long trip to Disney World. I did one where I basically had we basically did shots of Alexa, the Amazon Echo, doing commentary on our video. And every time we had her commenting, it would pop up with a little picture of Alexa basically commenting and basically making fun of us and mocking us. That did not get the most amount of views that we ever had on a Disney video, but we loved it because it was something, nobody did anything like that. And it was a lot of fun having Alexa just trash talk us at Disney and make fun of it.
And I totally agree with what you said. Haley just said, and there's so many good Disney YouTubers. I agree. So we're a Disney community. I'm definitely part of the Disney community, and I'm proud to be. But I agree with you. There's some Disney YouTubers that are very original, and there are some Disney YouTubers who are just posting Disney things, and I love them both. Let's be real. If you're just walking around with your camera at Disney, I'm probably
sure both.
Yeah, but then you got Justin. I don't even know how to say it. Justin Scard. Am I saying his name right? I hope I am. He even talks funny, and I mean,
he's hilarious. Yeah, he's another.
Yeah, I love. I mean, I've heard people. Oh, I can't stand him. Well, obviously people are watching him, and then of course the Tim Tracker, and then again, there's a bunch of people in here. I mean, Disney Life for Me's got a great trivia. Corey and Haley's moved down to Orlando. I mean, people I actually feel like I'm friends with, and I know now. There's people with under 100 subscribers that I don't miss their videos, and there's people. I mean, somebody just went over 500,000. I don't remember who it was. Mouse Talk, maybe, doesn't matter. My point is, I love it, and for me, what I'm trying to do is just do stuff that I love, and then share me. And then if you like me, cool, smash the subscribe button. If you don't, tell the door I said hello. But I just think there's so much room. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to get on my high horse here, but YouTube is not done growing. And when I say that, let's say video content creation is not done growing. ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox are all going to go away because we're watching each other, and it's better.
We're not watching near as much of that as we used to. We've cut that way back. We do watch a lot of YouTube, and some of it's bigger stuff, some of it's smaller stuff.
I definitely watch both. I watch some big and some little.
Yeah, there's a great mix of all sorts of different things. There's different things you can learn from other people, big and small. I love finding things. Somebody visits some small little tiny weird place and think, I should do one like that. I should visit, there's a place here that I had kind of pushed off. I'm going to go visit that place. So there's all sorts of cool different things that you can see, different aspects, people doing all sorts of different things. And it's really interesting to see what everybody's doing. We try and consume as much of that as we can.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I promised not to keep you over 8 o'clock, but I also promised to ask the chat if they wanted to ask some questions. Can I keep you for another 5? Sure. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So chat, now's your chance. Either are you in the chat right now, Bill? I don't know if you are. They can. Okay, just at me, guys, if you have a question for him. I'm going to scroll back, see if I missed anything. I know there was a bunch earlier on. Haley wants to know what's easier, Final Cut or Premiere Pro. I've never used Final Cut, and I can't answer either way, so I'll leave that one up to you.
I think Final Cut Pro is a little bit easier because there may be an extra step or two for certain things on Premiere Pro. But there was a different way of doing things from Final Cut versus iMovie. So yeah. There was going to be a little bit of a learning curve if I stuck with it. There's a lot of plugins and things you can do to get a lot more
all the big
interesting things with it.
Corey says he bought a new Mac desktop and your process has changed 100%. Is that better or worse, Corey? I'm actually thinking about, I've never had a Mac laptop and I didn't even care, but I bought an iPhone a few months ago and I actually love it. So Corey, do you like it better? I'd be interested in that answer. What else? Meg, you just use iMovie, you say. iMovie is so complicated, Haley says. A lot of edit conversation in here. I like it. Yeah, Haley says Casey. I'm guessing that was for Casey Neistat. So yeah, I put in the chat, but some of my favorite non-Disney YouTubers, Casey Neistat's my favorite. I just love it.
He does pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, and then Peter McKinnon and
oh yeah,
Cody Wanner last year. He actually inspired me to give this daily vlog Insanity a shot, and I just love his positivity. And then guys who help with video creation, Nick Nimmin and D Nimmin, they're my favorites probably, but there's so many out there. And then in the Disney world, I guess we've talked about them. I mean, all of them. I love them all. I do.
Always looking for something different that I can do. Yeah, I always think about what the next time we go to Disney Park, what am I going to do that's going to be a little different? This is just going to be the same day 1, day 2, 3. I keep telling myself I'm going to do this. One of the things I like to do in some of these videos is I've got this character. I take off my glasses. I put this little flat cup on. We call him Pappy, confused old guy. And I've done one where like Pappy lost in New York. And I did one Pappy at Disney World. And Pappy reminisces about the old days, the 30s when he knew Walt Disney and things like that. So I think, we're going to try and bring that back in too, and just do something that's a little bit different, a little bit fun.
I love it. I love it. I think I got all the questions that I saw. Guys, again, at me real fast if you want to. I don't want to keep everybody too long, but Walt says I love Pappy. Lyman Seek says I love Pappy. Love it. Love it. I kind of got caught up in your videos. I think we've mentioned a few that I haven't seen, so I better get caught up. Well, actually, we still have $300 toaster laptop. Corey says, okay. Haven't learned the Mac yet. Yeah, I've almost bought a Mac laptop 3 times in the past month.
I really like it, although some of the more recent releases I haven't been as excited about. And I'm like, do I switch back? Or I really love all my Mac stuff. I'm not a worshiper or a evangelist. I just like the equipment. It's nice, but I'm open to trying just about anything. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm actually
at some point.
I love Google, and I've used Google at work for years, and they just have such a great. They have everything, and so because of that, I went to Android, and then frankly, I stayed away from iPhone because I just didn't like how pretentious everyone was about it. I got to be honest, and I love the
that part of it turns me off.
Yeah, it does me too, right? But I run an after-school program, and we serve kids, and I was asked to teach a class, and I won't bore you to death with work details, but they asked me to do a vlogging class with junior high kids, and so I thought, well, I'm going to grab a Mac then, or an iPhone, because most of the kids are going to be on iPhone, and I really do love it. I have to admit, it's a little easier, I think. I mean, I don't know if anybody has a different opinion. I'm not going to bash Galaxy. I think it's an amazing product, but it seems like the vlogging world is a Mac Adobe Premiere based thing. So I decided, well, I better try the iPhone. I better try the Adobe Premiere. And now I feel like I'm starting over a little bit, but
there is that. Yeah, when you switch platforms, it is a little bit like starting over, trying to learn the new thing.
Well, before we say goodbye, guys, thank you so much for being here. Last chance. Any other questions? Just started using. Corey says just started using Apple. Yeah, totally. That's where I'm at, Corey. That is exactly where I'm at. Myers and the Mouse says Team Android. Yeah, I was until recently. I made fun of my daughters for being such iPhone disciples, but I guess I'm there now. I mean, they're both great products. They're just
they are. I really love the customizability of Android. That's one thing I miss.
Me too. Exactly.
And all the custom stuff, but there's a lot of things I really like about the iPhone as well.
Well, this is an awesome comment to end on. I was about to say I don't see any other questions, but Waldo Grams says, "Tell Bill we love him," and he's always grumpy, so that's big time right there.
I have some great conversations with Dougie online, and he's a very good guy. I loved watching the conversation last week with him too.
I love him too. Oh, Amor says, "I love you, Bill, too." This is awesome. So I always promise people we'll keep them only an hour, and I've already kept you over 7 more minutes. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Make sure here, let me throw the link in there one more time. If you're not subscribed yet, you're doing life wrong. There's a link to his channel. I finally remembered. I screenshotted how many you had. I didn't look at it. I don't even know what the number is, but I'm hoping you added a whole bunch tonight. This whole thing for me is about promoting other people who are doing stuff that I love. So I hope you had fun. I hope people in chat had fun.
Loved watching. Loved watching the first couple of these, and was reading some of the chat along with last week's, and I'm going to look into a few of those folks who are participating and chatting, and see if we can find some of them to subscribe to, and we just love finding new things to check out and see what other people are doing.
You know, this group, the regulars that come into my chats, they're a pretty neat group, and there's a lot of neat channels in there, and I'm seeing some new names in here. So if you're new to my channel, thanks. I would highly suggest not only smashing his subscribe button, but hitting those little 3 buttons alongside a chat and saying hi to some people. There's some of my favorite channels that are sitting here right now messaging you. So if I didn't say hi to you, I apologize. I will go back and try to read those comments. Actually, I'm going to go watch a little football. I don't know if the game's still going on, but I think it might still be going on. But regardless, yeah, I think it is probably late in the 4th quarter. Bill, you rock. I love your channel. I hope you got a bunch of new stuff. No, thank you. And let's not be strangers. I'd love to, just stay in contact. And everybody in chat, again, go check out his stuff. His socials, the Twitter and the Instagram are in the description. I think that's it. You go have the best day ever, my friend. I'm going to say goodbye to them, and I'll say goodbye to you offline here in a minute. But guys in chat, love you. Have a great Sunday. I'm off work tomorrow. I'm going to do some. So I might live stream tomorrow and do a little chat, and I've got work to do, but I'll be doing it from my couch. So that's it for now. I'm going to say goodbye to him offline. I'll say goodbye to you guys now. See you soon. Thanks for being here. Next week, Bob and Ashley will be on, same time, same channel, blah, blah, blah. Thanks. Have the best night ever. I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye, everybody.